The year was 2018. On a soundstage in America, a 13-year-old girl in a simple, long-sleeved top walked into the blinding lights of the America's Got Talent auditions. The audience barely noticed her. The judges, perhaps, expected a quiet, forgettable performance. She was shy, awkward, and could barely meet their eyes. They were wrong. They were all so very wrong. That girl was Courtney Hadwin, and what happened in the next 90 seconds would become one of the most unforgettable moments in talent show history. She became a global sensation, a viral phenomenon, and a star seemingly overnight. But this is not just a story about a famous audition. It is a story about the immense pressure of sudden fame, the struggle to be heard, and the question that haunts every artist who finds success too young. When the world falls in love with a persona, what happens to the real person underneath? The teenager from Hartlepool in County Durham had spent her life in the shadows of her own personality. Her father once explained that she was so shy and reclusive that she had a hard time making friends, communicating best through her singing. Music wasn't just a hobby for her. It was a lifeline. She found solace in the raw energy of artists long gone before her time: James Brown, Tina Turner, and Etta James. She wasn't learning to be a pop star. She was learning to channel a power far greater than herself. She was a girl who hid behind her hair and felt most at home only when the music was loud enough to drown out the world. This has been the central tension of her entire life, the quiet before the storm. But no one, not even Simon Cowell, was prepared for the storm when it finally broke. When she performed the Otis Redding classic, Hard to Handle, the transformation was instant and electric. She unfurled like a flag in a hurricane. Gone was the shy schoolgirl. In her place was a force of nature, howling with a raspy, soulful voice that seemed to have been torn from another time. She danced with a jerky, uninhibited abandon, playing to the crowd and the judges like a seasoned rock star. Heidi Klum's jaw hit the floor. She literally said, "Oh, my God." Howie Mandel saw a legend reborn, comparing her to the great Janis Joplin. "This is your moment," Mandel told her. "You are not from this era." But it was Cowell's reaction that said it all. The notoriously tough, often unimpressed, Mr. Nasty of the judging panel was stunned. He laughed in disbelief, uttering the words, "Bloody hell." Simon Cowell then gave one of his most memorable compliments to a contestant, telling her she was like a lion, a shy little thing who becomes a king of the jungle when she sings. It was the moment the world took notice. Howie Mandel slapped his golden buzzer, sending Courtney straight to the live shows and catapulting her into a new reality. But as the confetti fell and the audience roared, did anyone think about what would happen to this shy, quiet girl after the cameras stopped rolling? She later said getting the golden buzzer was more than she ever could have dreamed of. But sometimes, dreams are not all they are cracked up to be. Sometimes, they can be the beginning of a very long nightmare. This is the core of the story, and it is the reason Simon Cowell could not hold back his tears years later. Because behind the spectacle of the golden buzzer and the millions of views, a young girl was fighting a quiet battle. As the song says, she was hard to handle, and the world was about to learn just how difficult sudden, all-consuming fame can be. And it is worth asking ourselves, in our age of viral content, do we truly see the people behind the performances, or only the ghosts we project onto them? Let us know in the comments what you think about the price of instant fame. The audition quickly became a viral sensation, racking up over 300 million views and turning the girl from peedily into an international star. But while the world saw a rock star, Courtney was still just a student. She had to navigate the surreal experience of being a pop culture phenomenon during the day and returning to the mundane reality of schoolwork and teenage life when the cameras turned off. It was the biggest moment of her life, and it was happening at the most vulnerable age. Soon, she was on a whirlwind journey through the AGT live shows. She delivered powerful performances of James Brown's Papa's Got a Brand New Bag, Steppenwolf's Born to Be Wild, and Tina Turner's River Deep, Mountain High, each one solidifying her status as the frontrunner. But a subtle shift was happening. Cowell began calling her a bundle of excitement and a maniac, and Mandel even predicted she would win the entire show. But those labels were beginning to feel like shackles. They were celebrating the character she played for 3 minutes, the wild child and the lion, not the quiet girl who wrote songs in her bedroom to heal. The pressure was immense. Every week, she had to find a new song to conquer, a new way to shock the judges and the audience. She was on a treadmill of high-octane performances, forced to deliver the same lightning-in-a-bottle energy that had made her famous. But a person is not a performing seal. You can't just press a button and be wild. And the constant need to be that person is enough to break anyone, let alone a child. In the finals, she placed 6th, one of the best results in the competition's history. It was a monumental achievement, but she had lost. The relief was palpable. She could finally, she thought, start being herself. Then came a moment that, at the time, looked like a dream come true. Simon Cowell signed her to his label, Psycho Music, in a partnership with Arista Records. "It feels amazing," Courtney said in a press release. "I've always wanted to work on original songs, while staying true to myself. It seemed like the perfect partnership, the final piece of the puzzle. But the road to hell is paved with good intentions. And the music industry, for all its glitz and glamour, is not always kind to young artists who, as it turned out, were still trying to figure out who they even were." Courtney Hadwin signed with Psycho and began writing original music. She returned for America's Got Talent, The Champions, debuting her first original song, Pretty Little Thing. But internally, she was suffocating. In the unforgiving world of the music industry, she was still just a commodity. She was put into writing camps with established songwriters and producers, people who had never lived her life, never felt her fears, and she was given songs to sing. They were, as she would later describe, pure Ariana Grande pop. It wasn't her. It was a sound they thought would sell. They heard her voice and saw the AGT clips and thought, yes, she's a great vessel for our pop songs. But she was not a vessel. She was a voice with a story to tell. And that story was being drowned out by the sound of a production line. It was hard, she would later reflect, because I came off this big TV show. I was just thrown into the deep end. Then the label folded. She was cast adrift, but ironically, it was in the failure of that deal that she found her freedom. She decided to bet on herself. She became an independent artist. After the label folded, she could finally breathe. She began the real work of building her career on her own terms, a journey that would take years of patience, self-discovery, and sheer grit. It was not about a lack of talent. It was about finding the right key to unlock her own potential. And the person who held that key was a producer named Kevin Bowe. "He really got me," she said. "I feel like that's when the music started to actually matter to me, songwriting-wise." Bowe, who has worked with legends like Etta James, pushed her to move beyond just being a performer. He encouraged her to stop trying to be the pop star the label wanted and to embrace the soulful, bluesy influences that had first inspired her as a child. It was a slow process. "At the start," she laughs, "I completely hated writing. My main priority was just being on stage. I love performing. I'm an entertainer." But Bowe forced her to dig deeper, to find the words to express the confusion, the pressure, and the loneliness she had felt for years. And slowly, she learned to love it. The music was raw, honest, and filled with the pain of growing up in the spotlight. This brings us to the moment that finally broke through the walls she had built, the moment Simon Cowell, the man who had called her a lion, was brought to tears. Courtney Hadwin's true strength is not just her voice, it is her vulnerability. In 2025, after years of silence, she began releasing music from her debut album Little Miss Jagged, a project that she described as one big diary entry. The title itself encapsulates her entire journey: jagged, rough around the edges, not perfect. She says she has always been like Marmite. You either love her or you hate her. One song in particular, Monsters, felt like a final, cathartic confession. It is a song about battling the shadows within, about being afraid of your own reflection. She sings about loneliness, fear, and a deep-seated pain that had been hidden behind the bravado of her performances for far too long. "I'm afraid of myself every time I see the face in the mirror," she sings, her voice trembling with the raw weight of truth. It was a public admission of a private war. This is the moment that brought Simon Cowell to tears. The man who had seen thousands of auditions, who had made and broken careers, was reportedly moved to tears when he learned the full extent of what the young girl he'd championed had endured. The story of Courtney Hadwin was not just about finding a star, it was about losing a child to the demands of a world that wanted to own her. He saw past the viral views and the industry hype, and saw the woman she had become, forged in the fire of a public life that had nearly consumed her. It wasn't pity, but a profound sense of respect for a journey that should never have been so hard. Instead of hiding from her pain, she was singing straight through it. The shy girl who once let the music transform her was now using her voice to heal herself and everyone else who felt unseen. The new album was not AGT nostalgia. It was a survival guide. "If I'd known what it would be like, I don't know if I would have done it," she has said about her AGT journey. "I went through a stage of everyone around me telling me what I should sound like. We were creating music that I couldn't relate to at all." The expectation to remain the innocent 13-year-old girl from the audition was a ghost she could not escape, and one that haunted her deepest relationships. This is the final, unresolved mystery of her story. For all her success and her newfound artistic freedom, the ghost of her former self still lingers. She is no longer the shy girl who wowed the judges, but the pressure to live up to that moment remains. Her own personal battle with the world's perception of her is far from over. "I feel like I have to prove myself that little bit more every single day," she admitted. It is a reminder that fame is not a destination, but a long and winding road. For every high, there is a low, and for every moment of triumph, there is an echo of doubt. So, what happens next? She is working on a debut album, a project she calls Little Miss Jagged, a title that perfectly reflects her refusal to be smoothed over by the machinery of the music industry. She is talking about her struggles, and in doing so, she is helping countless other young people who feel misunderstood. Courtney Hadwin is more than just a viral sensation or a golden buzzer moment. She is a testament to the fact that talent is not enough to survive in the harsh reality of fame. She is a lion, not because she roars on stage, but because she had the courage to walk away from a cage. The world didn't know what to do with her when she was just a girl with a dream. But now, as a woman with a voice, she's telling the world exactly who she is. And the world is finally listening. Perhaps the next time we see a shy kid step onto a stage, we will remember that what they are about to show us is just a glimpse. The real story, the one that unfolds in the years that follow, is far more complicated and far more interesting. And in today's world, where we share our lives in seconds, the one thing we all truly need is the time to figure out who we are.